Welcome to Dodgers Daily. I'm Casey Porter. I'm so glad that you've decided to tune in. Hey, today we have a very special guest, a young man who took baseball by storm just the other day with his 101 mile an hour fastball. Jake Pilarski joins Dodgers Daily. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I'm glad to be here.
Congratulations on, being at the Freeway Series, being invited to that. That has to be very exciting.
Yeah, last night, the game at Dodger Stadium, unfortunately didn't get in the game, but was able to sit there and see all the fans and experience Dodger Stadium for the first time in my life, and it was definitely something to take in.
Okay, so we're going to dive into your whole story, and this thing is absolutely amazing. Whenever I just read stories of guys who have done it through hard work and perseverance and just never give up, I love these kind of stories. So, talk about, okay, we're going to get into the backstory first, but let's start at the end of it. Talk about what it was like, after all you've been through and all the, just the stick-to-itiveness, what it was like actually getting to step on the mound for the Dodgers the other day.
It was incredible. I got the chance. I was told that I was going to be backing up a major league game. We were playing at Salt River against the Rockies. And I got there and I wasn't quite sure, what was going on. And there's this big, nice stadium and there's all these fans. And it was just a lot to take in. And then I'm sitting out in the bullpen, seventh inning rolls around, bullpen phone goes off, and bullpen coach is like, "Pilarski, you're up." And I'm like, here we go. So it was awesome. Definitely a little nerve-wracking at first when I first got out to the mound. But it was awesome. It was a great experience. It's something I will personally never forget.
Let's back up just a touch. You went to Fox Chapel. I'm going to say Chapel Hill a million different times. It's one of those deals where I've seen Chapel Hill so many times. Okay, Fox Chapel High School, and then you got to play with another professional. I'm going to let you talk about the other professional baseball player that is still in professional baseball player right now. You got to play with in high school, but then you ended up at Division III Virginia Wesleyan. And so, obviously that's one of the most beautiful areas in the world. If you've ever been to that part of the United States, that's incredible. So I'm sure that was attractive to you, but tell us how you ended up at Virginia Wesleyan.
So out of high school, I was thrown kind of hard for a high schooler, but not anything really over the top. I had offers from several schools, and I went down on a recruit trip to the Virginia Beach area to check out a couple of schools, and Wesleyan was on that list. And I just kind of fell in love with the place. It was right on the beach. The weather was nice all the time. And being a Pittsburgh kid, it's hard to pass up nice weather. I really liked the head coach. I got along with the head coach. And they're also one of the only schools that was going to let me try to be a two-way. So because I hit in high school, so I wanted to see if I could continue that through college. And they were going to give me the opportunity to do that. And fortunately, I got to do that for a few years in college before I became strictly a pitcher. But yeah, I just really fell in love with the campus, the area. They had a really good mathematics and engineering program. They did a partnership with Old Dominion. So I got to get a good education out of that. So it kind of just seemed like the right place to go.
The 2020 season got canceled because of COVID. And kind of cool for you, today's day and age with all the transfer portal and as easy as it is to move around, it's easy for guys to go from one place to the next, and sometimes there's hard feelings left behind. But going from a Division III and then having the chance to go Division I to the Citadel, which you did in 2021 to finish your career, I would imagine, there's, it's just, everybody's happy for everybody in that scenario. So that's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it was awesome. So one of the best things about that whole situation is when our season got canceled, I went into my head coach's office and, I basically sat down and had a hard time trying to tell him that I didn't think staying at Wesleyan for a fifth year was going to be in the future for me. And I think before I even got it out, he just looked at me and was like, "Dude, get out of here. You're going to go do something great. You've put your time in here. We're always going to love you. We're going to miss you, but you deserve to go somewhere else and perform at a different level." And so he was really supportive about me going to the next level. And, as you said, I hopped on the transfer portal, and I think I was on the portal for a total of maybe 48 hours. And I was just getting phone calls and emails and texts. And at the end of the day, the Citadel, they seemed like the best place for me to go. They were going to help me further my education, give me a starting job on the staff. And they're located in Charleston, South Carolina. So I just went from beach town to beach town and just lived it up.
I was going to say, man, you went from Pittsburgh, a steel mill town, to Virginia on the beach, and then to Charleston on the beach. Man, what a deal you had, huh?
I lucked out. I definitely got the good end of college in the location perspective.
So do you ever go back to Pittsburgh now? I asked Grove this. He trained in Florida in the off season, then in Arizona, and then he goes out to California when he's on in the LA team. But when you go back to the Pittsburgh area, does it seem like it's like 500 degrees colder now than it was when you were a kid?
Oh, 100%. For sure. So I was down in Charleston for 2021. And then, like I said, I signed with the Lake Erie Crushers and Indy Ball. So then I drove up to Cleveland to play with them for the summer. But that first off season when I was back home in Pittsburgh was a very, very cold off season for me.
Okay, I've actually never been to Pittsburgh. It's one of the areas of the United States I've just never been to for whatever reason, but I have known several people that are from Pittsburgh. Very blue collar, very tough, very hardworking. Would any of that be accurate?
Very accurate. There's definitely like a sense of like hard work and kind of like pride and getting like nitty gritty when it comes to like the people of Pittsburgh and the sports that just are like about that city.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so you mentioned the Citadel. You lasted about 48 hours and the transfer portal, and you ended up in Charleston, South Carolina there. How hard were you throwing at that point?
I think when I got to campus at the Citadel, I was sitting like 92, 94, topping 95, 96 maybe on a good day. But that was back when I was still a starter. So it was kind of more, I felt like I was more managing my bullets instead of just letting them go.
We're kind of winding through how you have earned everything you've gotten from basically day one. Let's go back to Fox Chapel, your high school. I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but I wanted to tell a little bit of that story. Talk about Patrick Monteverde. You got to play with him. He was a professional baseball player at Fox Chapel. And then Michael Frank, your head coach. And you helped them win sectionals. You had a wonderful career there, didn't you?
Yeah, it was awesome. So me and Pat go way back. We played Little League together. So like,
Lord. You ever lose a game?
There were a few, not many, but there were a few. Me and Pat have been playing with or against each other since we were probably 7.
Iron sharpens iron, doesn't it?
Yep. And so we got a long history, and of course, like I said, we both played varsity baseball at Fox Chapel together. We were 1 and 2. One of us was pitching, starting, and then one of us would start the next day, or when those big games came, a lot of times we had Pat would start and I would close it out. Then he would play first base, I'd play outfield. It was awesome, to play with him, and obviously like with his success and his journey. I mean, he kind of did the same evolution as I did. Went to a D3 for a year, transferred to a D2, transferred to a D1, got drafted, and now he's working his way up through the Marlins organization. But yeah, when me and Pat were on, there were not a lot of games that didn't go our way.
How hard did he throw in high school?
Pat, he was mid to upper 80s probably. His velocity really jumped off when he got to Seton Hill, and then really took it to even like stride for the next when he got to Texas Tech. So
yeah,
he really got down to Tech and got with those guys and really just turned his stuff from good to elite. Yeah,
Matt Gardner is an awesome pitching coach. He actually went to Oklahoma State. I'm an Oklahoma State guy, grew up in Stillwater, so I got to see Matt Gardner's entire career. He is now the pitching coach at Texas Tech, and unfortunately, I got to see Monteverde pitch way too much against my Cowboys in college. He was very, very good. So I can only imagine, you got Pilarski just throwing darts up there. You got Monteverde throwing darts. It's about 32 degrees somewhere in Pittsburgh, and you're trying to hit that all day long. That doesn't sound very fun, does it?
No, it's not a good day if you got to face one of us in the freezing cold.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt it. Okay, let's continue on about how you earned everything. Okay, you go Division III to Virginia Wesleyan, and then really your first year, you don't really set the world on fire, so you kind of had to rededicate yourself and find yourself again there after your first year of college, didn't you?
Yeah, my first year, I kind of struggled with the control side. So I I kind of got a little bit of like a velo jump my freshman year. In high school, I was like touching 90 on a good day. And then my freshman year, I was sitting like 90 to 92. And I kind of like lost a lot of my control. So I was like, I'd go out there and one inning it'd be lights out. And then the next inning it would be like, I have no idea where the ball is going. And I kind of struggled with that for most of the year. Got opportunities here and there to kind of like help me get back on the bump. But it definitely was not a great year for me. And then sophomore year, I came out sophomore year, and my head coach was, he was saying, "We're going to put you in the bullpen. You just had control struggles, and with how like with your velo, like we just think it's going to be better off you in the bullpen." I was like, "Yeah, whatever. Anywhere to make the team, right?" And then early in the year, we had a starter go down, had to miss a start. So the head coach was like, "Hey man, can you pick up this start for us?" I was like, "Yeah, whatever, sure." And I threw really well. I think I went like 7 innings, no earned runs, had a handful of strikeouts, had a really good outing. And then from there on out, I just stuck in that starter spot and kind of just became my career from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you've had 2 distinct experiences that kind of prove just how many great baseball players are out there. You hear D3, you don't realize, man, there are some great baseball players at that level. And then you also went Indy Ball. We'll get into it here in a minute. And there are some ridiculously good baseball players that play at that level. So you've had 2 experiences that just go to show how many great players there are out there, haven't you?
Yeah, and it's hard because you get a lot of people that like kind of turn their nose down to D3 baseball. And I mean, I played with numerous kids and against numerous kids at Division III that, whether they had just really one good really season or whatnot, ended up, getting picked up by somebody playing Indy Ball. My sophomore year, actually, I was neck and neck with Colin Selby of Randolph Macon for every pitching accolade that you could have. And he ended up getting drafted by the Pirates in the 16th round. So, I mean, there's definitely D3 guys that can do it.
I'm sure you were hoping to get drafted out of the Citadel. So tell us what maybe what your agents were telling you and then not getting drafted. Take us through that situation and the emotions of that.
Yeah, so I went to the Citadel and I enjoyed being there. And obviously the level of competition kind of made a huge jump for me. So that was a little bit of trying to get an adjustment to that. My obviously, like I said, my velo was a lot better when I was at the Citadel. So my game plan was kind of just let's go throw hard and punch tickets, try to get strike guys out.
Were you still a starter?
I was still a starter. Yeah, okay. I was the Friday night guy, okay. And my ERA wasn't the best. I gave up a lot of hard hits, a lot of hard runs. The good stuff from the Citadel was, I always made my starts. I don't think I missed a start. I always tried to go pretty deep. I was good for, getting strikeouts and making sure I'm eating innings and stuff like that. But I kind of struggled a little bit to keep guys from scoring. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what kept me out of the draft. A little bit of control issues, a little bit of, when I was getting myself in good situations, couldn't finish the job. So, and it was, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it sucks. I had talked to multiple scouts and there was all this high hope for me and all this stuff. And then the draft came and went and my name never got called. But at the end of the day, I think the route that I did take is going to be better off for me anyways.
You mentioned the route. Did you have any undrafted free agent offerings that you chose Indy Ball over?
No, so actually, I signed to go play at Lake Erie before the draft even started, and I had put it written into my contract that I could still be draft eligible and all that stuff. And when the draft didn't happen, a couple of the scouts that I had still been in contact with just said that with how the season went and what they acquired in the draft, and because this was a year after COVID too, so money was a little tight with free agent signings. Mm-hmm. They basically all told me go to Indy Ball, throw well, and you'll get out of there.
Knew a player at Oklahoma State that's in the exact same boat as you, exact same time period. Carson McCusker, big outfielder type left fielder. I don't know if you ever heard of him. And
I played against him.
Yeah, big old dude. He can hit bombs, can he?
Was he with New Jersey?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
We played against him. I remember that.
Yeah, and I think Pete Incavilla, former Oklahoma State boy, was his coach there in Indy Ball. So, yeah, so that, that I'm glad you said that, because that people don't realize there were no jobs to be had after that COVID deal, because, I mean, it was that draft being cut to 5 rounds. That was tough. So, tough period of time. So, take us through your Indy Ball experience. I've heard stories about it here and there. I've never really been around it a whole lot. So, I'd really like to hear what Indy Ball is like and what it was like for you.
So I loved Indy Ball. Obviously, I really like being an affiliate and being a Dodger now, but Indy Ball was definitely an experience. It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't really know how to explain. Like there's just not as much like structure as you would have in affiliate ball. We have like set times, practice times. The minor leagues do the 6-game series, which is really nice for travel. But in Indy Ball, they don't have any of that. You have show up at the field by this time, game starts here, do whatever you need to do to get ready. We do 3-game series, and whoever writes the schedules for Indy Ball doesn't really look at like where we're going, because you could play a night game on a Thursday night in Washington, PA, and then have a game the next day in Chicago, and it's a 9-hour drive. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun, a lot of craziness. You meet a lot of crazy people and interesting ball players from all realms of the world. So
you got moved back to the bullpen while you were in Indy Ball, which was great for you, because you mentioned just a minute ago how you felt like you were kind of holding back some of your bullets as a starter. Well, when you go to the pen, you can max out, as much as you want. And then you also started going to Tread Athletics. So talk about that transition back to the bullpen and how you've ended up at 101 miles an hour.
Yeah. So the last off season, I got a call from I had just gotten traded to Washington. I got a call from my manager, and he was like, "Hey man, just wanted to let you know, going into your bullpens for the off season, we're going to move you to the bullpen. You're going to be a back end arm for us." He basically just kind of said like, "Oh,
yeah, I got me a little pit bull right here. She's a little baby. Not a whole lot I can do about it. So sorry about that."
No, you're good. She's cute. So, well, he basically just said, last year, because I threw against him last year when I was at Lake Erie, I pitched against them. He said, he was just really impressed with what I did as a starter. And he was like, but with like the level of, the velo I have and, the type of my pitch, the way my pitches work, he just thought, hey, I want to get more value out of you as a 1-inning, like twice a series kind of guy. So I started in the bullpen, and it was a little weird getting adjusted to being a full-time bullpen person, because, as a starter, you're so routine to like day one throw, next day I'm going to like play light catch, bullpen the day after that. And you kind of have like your routine for each start. But when you're in the bullpen, it's like all games off. You could, throw 2 innings on Friday, get Saturday off, and have to throw again Sunday. You could throw Friday and Saturday. So you kind of have to be ready for everything. And for me, it took a while for me to kind of get my body and my arm used to like, hey, dude, you could go throw 15 pitches at max effort and then have to come do it again tomorrow. When in the past, like, no matter how many pitches I threw, I at least got like a day or 2 off. So it was kind of hard at first for me to make that adjustment. But I finally got there. I just finally figured out how to like recover better, how to like manage my, my bullets and stuff. And then just kind of like, as the season progressed and we started playing at stadiums that showed like velocities on scoreboards and stuff, next thing you know, my teammates are going, dude, you hit 98 tonight? I'm like, no, I didn't know I hit 98. I didn't look. And my velocity just really kind of took off. And, I was probably consistently like 95 to 97 for most of the year, hitting like 98, 99 every now and then. And it was awesome. And then the season ended, and obviously I didn't get picked up by anyone in season. So the season ended, and I was kind of at a point in my career where, I was working out all the time. I was throwing, but I kind of didn't know where to take it from there. So I had a good friend that I played with at Lake Erie who works at Tread Athletics, and I reached out to him and said, hey, what can you guys do for me? And he got me in touch with some people there, and they set up a program for me, and a lot of mobility work. I was really strong, but also like really tight. Couldn't really move my body well. So I did a lot of mobility work, kept that at the weight room. They cleaned up a couple mechanical things. And then next thing you know, I'm sitting 98, 100 miles an hour.
Sounds like you'd endorse Tread Athletics.
They really helped me get with the Dodgers. Yeah, I mean, on top of the connections that they have, and
Yeah.
their reputation itself just helped kind of open that door for me to get me into affiliate ball. So,
Hey, you've gotten to do something that, not very many people has ever walked the earth has gotten to do. You've gotten to throw a baseball and then look at a radar gun and see triple digits. What is that feeling like? I mean, I got to know, what's it like to throw a 100-mile-an-hour pitch, look at the radar and go, look, dude, I just threw it 100 miles an hour. What's that like?
It's a pretty sweet feeling. So the first time I threw a pitch that I could see the radar gun that I hit 100 was at Tread. It was during an off-season bullpen, and it was awesome because it was one of those things that, like, you always joke about, like, oh, I'm going to throw 100 one day. I'm going to throw 100 one day. And then look at me, like, 4 or 5 years down the line, and I've actually have learned and trained myself to throw 100. And it's an awesome feeling. And it's funny because a lot of the guys in the clubhouse, they always get on me a little bit because I'll go out there and be like, I didn't feel like I was throwing hard today. And they were like, dude, you sat 97. Like, shut up. But it's crazy because, like, for me, just like high effort, like, to me, it doesn't look like it's 100. It just looks like I'm throwing hard and it's getting there, but to everyone else and, to the radar guns and stuff, it's, dude, those are bullets.
So that pitch that you ended your last outing with, are you calling that a cutter, or it looked like a slider to me? What do you call that?
I call it a slider. Everyone else at the Dodgers, we've been calling it a slider. I don't really know where the cutter terminology came from.
I heard it labeled that, and I was like, dude, that's a slider, man. That doesn't look like a cutter to me. That was pretty nasty, man.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know why it was, like, labeled a cutter during that outing. Because I mean, the data was, like, supporting us more of a slider type profile.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the pitching coaches on the minor league side say, well, you threw one at 93, so they probably thought there's no way that was a slider.
93-mile-an-hour slider. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's insane. Okay, so we've talked about, you have obviously proved to everybody you have the raw stuff to get major league outs. I mean, your stuff is just insane. Okay, so from here, it's going to be all about creating consistency. How do you create consistency so you can stick?
So for me, what I've been told from everyone in the Dodgers organization that's kind of, like, tried to help me with all this, because, like I said, like, I'm new. Like, this is my first year with the org, and and the big thing that I keep hearing and that everyone keeps telling me is just, trust the process.
Yes.
Trust the weight room, trust your prep work, trust all the work you're putting in on the mound. Like, just keep doing what you've been doing and trust that is going to lead to the results that we want. And I mean, so far this entire spring training, it's been working well. You go in, you do your prep work in the morning, you get ready for an outing, all your plyos, bands, all that fun stuff. And then you just trust, like, hey, we've been working on, forcing vert. We've been working on the slider all week. Let's just go and execute these pitches to the best of our ability and get some outs.
Have they given you any indication where you might start?
No, I haven't heard anything yet. So it's a common question. So I get asked that quite a bit from family, friends, other teammates. They all want to know where everyone's going and stuff. But no one's really has said anything to me yet. So I'm kind of been focusing on the Freeway Series first, and then when we get back to Arizona for the last few days, then I can worry about where they're going to send me next.
You said you're kind of the new guy, but you've been around enough. The Indy Ball, and then all your college experience, and now with the Dodgers. So just looking around, what things do you think that you do well enough right now to be a consistent major league pitcher? And what things do you think that you need to improve on if you want to be that consistent major league pitcher?
Consistency, definitely, obviously the velocity. The velocity's been really good all spring. I don't think I've thrown a pitch under 96 or 97 all spring. The slider has developed a lot since I've been here. So probably just like the velo and the kind of like the mix that I can throw in there as a pitcher is going to help me get to that next level. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the consistency side. What's going to really help me move, wherever I start at, help me move up that ladder and eventually, get to Dodger Stadium full time is going to be consistency. Showing the people at the higher level that, yeah, it's 100 and it's firm and he's got really good off speed, but can he do it 2 out of 3? Can he do it back-to-back days? Can we ask him like, hey, can we ask him to go throw 3 days in a row? And even though maybe that third day it's not 100, but he's still out there competing and getting outs with his best stuff on 3 consecutive days throwing.
Great point.
So, I think really for me, it's going to be showing that I can do that. It's like showing that, not just 1 or 2 good outings, that, hey, you can have good outings and then keep that going even when my best stuff isn't there.
No doubt. No doubt. Okay. The Dodgers, I say this all the time. I tell people this all the time. They have the best culture I've ever seen. Everybody's always in a good mood. Everybody's always very supportive. Then they also have the best developmental system, especially on the pitching side. That it's just incredible how good their developmental system is on the pitching side. So since you become a Dodger, have you made any changes? Have they changed anything on you?
Yeah, they've all been like little tweaks. So they adjusted my slider grip a little bit to get a little more depth out of it, which was awesome because that really changed that pitch for the best for me. And then the other adjustment they made was kind of with my fastball, was focusing more on trying to create some vertical angle and a little bit less of the kind of like the run horizontal. Because I was kind of in the middle when I got here. I was getting like a little bit of carry and a little bit of run. So they kind of wanted to turn that a little more towards like, let's work on carry and trying to carry that fastball at, 98 plus.
Okay, so the scout that noticed you, Jonah Rosenthal, tell us what he means to you.
So I met Jonah when I was down at the Citadel, and honestly, he called me, I don't even remember when, probably right before the season started, and I was on the phone with him for maybe 3 hours.
Wow.
I had talked to a handful of scouts prior to him, and those 30-minute phone calls, they want to know what your routine is, your pitch grips, what makes you think you can play in their organization. And Jonah hit all that, but we also talked about Pittsburgh probably for 2.5 hours. And it was nice to talk to somebody at a time for me where I was like stressed out and like I was trying to make a good impression. It was nice to talk to somebody who knew where I was from, had a lot of history with the city, and we could kind of talk about that stuff. And and it was great. And he was a great dude, and he even reached out to me after the draft and was like, not like apologizing, but things didn't work out, and he wished me the best, and he'd hope to see me soon. And and he just stayed on me. And then next thing you know, I pop up a tread throwing 100, 101, and he was like, listen, we got to pull the trigger now.
All right.
Like, how can you not say pull the trigger? And thankfully his bosses agreed with him, and he was able to go out there and make me a Dodger.
Okay, man. I like to end these things with messages for kids. So all these young kids out here, hey, don't listen to me. I'm just a podcaster. I'm just on here talking. Listen to the dudes that are actually doing it every day and are in position to fulfill their dreams. Don't believe me, believe them. Okay, what a message you have. You go D3 out of college, and then you kind of struggle your first year, then you have to remake yourself, then you turn to the bullpen, and then you're a bullpen guy, then you're made a starter again, and then you turn to the bullpen again, you don't get drafted, and then all of a sudden you just keep working. You just keep, taking your 1 or 2 miles down the road and then going the next 1 or 2 miles until you get to your destination where you can look back at it. So for all those kids out there that don't feel like they're getting seen, that don't feel like they're getting the credit they deserve, that don't feel like, they're going to get the offers, but they want to be like you and be a professional player, what's your message for them?
My message would be just don't give up. When I was in high school, I never thought ever that I would touch 100 miles an hour. I never thought that I would touch the bullpen mound at Dodger Stadium. Just keep working hard. And I know that sounds kind of like cliche because you hear that all the time from people, but it really, really boils down to that. You put your head down. Don't let social media and all this other stuff influence you. Just work hard, do what you're supposed to do. If you need help, find guidance. There's so many former players and guys out there that are willing to help kids no matter what level they're at. Just keep working hard and, get that help if you need that help, and, just don't give up on yourself.
I'm going to assume you grew up a Pittsburgh Pirates fan?
I did. I'm on all Pittsburgh sports. Pirates, Penguins, Steelers.
Yeah. You ever heard of Willie Stargell?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Oklahoma boy, Big Daddy Pops. He's a big time Oklahoma boy. How about Jordy Mercer?
Oh yeah, Jordy, our shortstop for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordy actually, he's from Oklahoma, and he's from a town in Oklahoma called Tologa that is so small they do not even have high school athletics anymore. So you talk about, your story being incredible. I think he graduated with like 8 kids in his graduating class. And so, boy, what a story he is, too. So I kind of thought you might know that name, so I wanted to throw that out there for you. But, hey, Jake Pilarski, this has been such a wonderful privilege for me to get to talk to you. I just love stories like yours of perseverance. And, actually, Tim Rogers, I know you've talked to him. He alerted me on our Dodgers Prospects podcast to you a couple of weeks ago and how, hey, look out for this guy because he is absolutely on fire right now. So excited to get to talk to you, and thank you so much for joining Dodgers Daily.
Thanks for having me, man.